Welcome to Inspirational Talks with LaDonna Marie, a Planting Positive Seeds podcast. All right, hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Inspirational Talks with LaDonna Marie, a Planting Positive Seeds podcast. And I am so excited about the guest on tonight. On Planting Positive Seeds, we always want to help others to overcome their obstacles, to talk about their triumphant moments, and learn how to celebrate life. Even the smallest thing deserves a celebration. But I love it when I get people on the podcast who are doing great and amazing things out in the world. And I'm so excited that my guest on tonight, she's a registered nurse. And so I'm so happy to hear about how she's impacting lives in the nursing field and everything that she's doing. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in my guest, Miss Eboni. How are you tonight?
I am good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to chat with you.
Thank you. I'm really appreciative that you took the time to, be able to come and, talk to me and the listeners of Inspirational Talks. We love to hear about the guests that come on, because your life, things that you went through and things that you are currently going through, it helps the listeners to know that they can overcome, or, just to be able to learn different things about different individuals to grow in all aspects of life. So I know I read everything that you sent in. Can you just introduce yourself to the listeners and just share a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yes. So once again, I am Eboni. I am a registered nurse. I'm also a mom and a wife, and a master chef in my mind. I always say I love to cook and bake.
Awesome.
And I got into healthcare long time ago, I think in 2000. Okay. And I got into the world of dialysis in 2001. I started as a technician and I loved it. I loved the connection with people because, dialysis is a very ugly disease. However, it has a beautiful side in that you see your patients 3-4 times a week, 3-5 hours a day. So you get to learn a lot about people. You spend a lot of time with people. They get invested in you, you get invested in them. And I'm just a nurturer, by heart and spirit. So I just loved being able to, dig into people's, lives, their being. And so I stayed for forever, became a nurse. I worked in the same facility like 13 years. Like it was amazing. So that is a little bit about my work background.
Okay, well, that's good. You said you're a mom. I'm a mom. We love our kids, being a mom and a wife. And so that is great. And just being in the nursing field, I remember, I think both of my grandmothers had to go to dialysis. And like you said, you get to meet your patients and they come in quite frequently and you build those relationships and, you find the things that they like to make them smile, to make the time go by when they're there, and they get to see a friendly face, because it's something about going into an atmosphere where you feel loved and you feel cared for and you feel seen, sometimes. So, I'm just thankful for, what you do as a nurse and, what you did as a working with dialysis, because I know you put a smile on the people's face as they came in. You kind of touched on it, the reason why you do, but I wanted you to share with the listeners what inspired you to do what you do as a nurse and in this field.
I know now dialysis is still my heart, and I still would love to eventually go back to that as as a main thing. But right now I am focused on kidney health in particular and wellness, because what I started seeing was I was dialyzing generations of families.
Okay.
Like I would have grandma in 2002, and I would have niece, nephew, aunt, and uncle in 2010, 2008. And it started making me think like, damn, if if they had had the education, the support, the knowledge that they needed 8-10 years ago, I might not be seeing them now. You know, they might be living a better quality of life, and that's going to trickle down to the families that they're taking care of and that they're currently living with, in that, you know, everybody can be healthier. So I really started changing my focus, because I was like, although I love dialysis wellness and helping people stay well while on dialysis, it really became important to me to have people not be on it at all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that is good, because, you know, like you said, if it's generation and, you know, passing down, then by you stepping in and helping the family to give them knowledge, to help them to find healthier ways to do different things, so that they won't come up with the same, you know, sickness or have, you know, problems and different things like that. And I think that that is really good, because we have to take care of our bodies, because our bodies are what we have to take us around this earth and, you know, get us to, you know, with our children, be active, and with different, you know, the day-to-day activities. And so it's really good that you took an interest in helping to alleviate, you know what I'm saying, some of the things that people will go through if they just had more knowledge, if they had someone that could help them, you know, understand, and like you said, to figure out how to change their lives and their I'm looking for a word, but their life while they're here, just to change their outlook on, you know, being healthy. And then, you know, because you would rather be healthy than have some issues and things that you were going through, if it was something that you could do about it.
Yes.
And so I think that that's a great thing that you're doing, and that you're helping and you're impacting lives by sharing knowledge with them, because knowledge is key. For different things. I know myself, we spoke offline, but me with being an overcomer and a survivor of attempted suicide, one of the main things that I do with Planting Positive Seeds is, you know what I'm saying, provide encouragement and also techniques like coping skills or different things and strategies to help people not to get in that, you know, that situation or place where I felt that I didn't want to be on this earth. And so I know that it's important, you know, to give people information, even though sometimes we may think that they know. I still would say it, because if you knew it, then you would change it. Sometimes it isn't that you just don't know it. It's like, if you had the information, then you would change what you're doing. So you just have to still, you know, give the information anyway. So,
and you said something so key in that it's the foundational skills and the lifestyle. You know, and if people don't have a good foundation, and they don't have those coping mechanisms, and they don't have those strategies to get out of those hard times, and they don't have, you know, the inside stuff that it takes,
right?
You know, because, and you know, motivation, and I tend to use that word. I use it, but it's a little liberal, because it's not really about motivation. Motivation is fleeting. You know, it's commitment and consistency.
Come on now.
That is you actually want to do. So when you said that, that's what it just made me think of, is, you know, people just, I say we, because we on a learning journey. We are, you know, in progress at all times. I don't think I'll ever get to a point where I will stop trying to better myself and knowing how to operate better and cope better. So I'm always going to be in progress. So I include myself, you know, in this too. And it's like, we have to never give up the fight for ourselves. Like, we just can't.
Right. And that is so key, to never give up on that, because you'll find yourself, you know what I'm saying, not living your best life when you don't seek to find different things. I normally would say to people, this is just a caveat, but I tell people, because since I've written so many books, as an author, people will always say, you know, I have a book in my belly. And I would tell them too, I was like, well, there's nothing that we can do with the book in your belly. And then, you know, also, if you don't have the motivation, but then if you don't act on it, like if you don't do the next thing, then that book will still be in your belly, and there's nothing that we can do about it. And so that's why I said the same thing. They do have to want to do it. So that's a part of that motivation. But if all you have is motivation, and you don't act or implement, and you don't use the tools that you have, I always ask them, what's in your box? Like, what do you have? What can you do differently? And so by you sharing, you know, different information and helping people in their lives, you're giving them something to grow from, to learn, and knowledge, and have a knowledge base that they not only can share within their family, but their children and then their children's children. And so it becomes, a healthy generation of knowing better ways to take care of yourself. So that is so amazing. I just want to know, with the jobs that we do and different things that we do, can you share some of your highlights and some of your achievements in your field?
Yes, just this past, I guess it's still fall. I feel like, how they say 2020 has been like 7 years. I want to say back in the fall, like we still in the fall.
Still in the fall.
I was nominated for a Sage Award at work, which I was really, really, because work, like, to me, I do what I do to help people, it's not ever for like, recognition. Like, I only went to like one of my graduations ever. I don't like, attend, I don't like that kind of stuff. So, but it was nice to be, honored and mentioned. And, business wise, I've been featured in Black Enterprise, talking about dialysis. I guest authored, and I was published in the Huffington Post.
Oh, that is
just talking about my journey. And I have a podcast too that is, I'm proud. Well, like you, when I look around and I look at my analytics and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm in like all of these different countries, and it's amazing to see like little old me talking about, kidney health and wellness and lifestyle changes. Is really like people are listening. You know what I mean? It's amazing. And now I'm really, really happy with what I'm doing, because I decided that I needed to break it down a little bit more, like, kidney health, wellness, and all of that. But what stops us from doing that? And it's our time management, prioritizing things and organization. You know what I mean? If we don't have the time and all of that stuff together, you're never going to work out. You're never going to meal prep. You're never going to, have the time that you want. A lot of people say, oh, I wish I could read devotionals in the morning, or, spend that time with the Lord and that kind of stuff. But if you can't get up, or if you don't make that time in your day, it's never gonna get done. And I'm talking to she was me, where it was like, I want to do all of these things, but what am I willing to do? What am I willing to sacrifice? What am I willing to change to make it happen? And so now I'm teaching that to other women who are busy professionals like us.
Yeah.
Trying to scrape and find this time.
Exactly.
To do it all. And when sometimes you can't do it all, you gotta pick and choose what you do. But that to me was important, because I saw a lot of people were and that gives you, I talked about that earlier. I did a video on promo for a class I'm doing on Saturday, and I'm like, that because it creates all of the things that you were talking about. Feelings, you start doubting your self-worth, you start doubting whether or not you can, accomplish the things you want to accomplish. You start doubting whether you have what it takes to do the things that you want to do, when in essence, like we said before, it all comes back down to the foundation and the skills that you have and how you use it. Like, that is that is the bottom of it. And if you don't have those things in order, you won't have anything to build on. It will continue to crumble, and you won't get anywhere. And I've always been good with time management and things like that. But when I started business, to bring a whole lot of stuff out of you, and it will reveal and expose what is not working. And that's what it did for me. And I was like, you know what? You just have to, because I'm like, and then I'm a Gemini, and I'm a black and white person. So I'm like, I'm all in, or I ain't doing nothing. You know what I mean? And it was like, before I was going too hard, I was spending 23 hours a day trying to build, and then I wasn't cooking, and I wasn't, interacting with my family. Then I went the whole other direction. Oh, now I'm doing all of this, and I'm feeling bad because I ain't doing nothing over here.
You balance.
And it was just like, and it just felt like I was not, and I had those same questions, like, maybe this is not for you, and you're not built for this, and maybe this is just not what you should be doing, which I knew it was, though.
Yeah.
So it's such a struggle when you know that this is something you're supposed to be doing, and you can't figure it out. You know what I mean? And I was like, let me help others. But really, it started with getting my mind right. You know what I mean? It wasn't even about, I didn't need to really learn anything else. I didn't really need to do anything else. Really, it was just sitting down, being still, and listening. I prayed for guidance, direction, and steps for like I want to say like 2 years, like every morning.
Yes.
My son would pray when I took him to school, and I would always pray for those. I don't care what else I prayed for. It was those 3 things. And it was like the other day I realized, and I'm taking a discipleship class at church, and and the lesson today was talking about time and meditation in Psalms 119. And it came to me just today, like when I started praying and being quiet and being still and being present, what I asked for started to happen. And it's been happening, and now I'm like, it's really happening because I had to take the first step.
Oh,
and probably there all along, I couldn't see it because I was too busy going my way instead of going the way I was supposed to go.
Exactly. Evan, you said so much, because first of all, I want to say congratulations on your being in the magazine, guest authoring on the page, Black Enterprise. Like, all of that is amazing because you're adding content to the world and you're putting your stamp out there, building a legacy that your children can go back and look at, and even you share with your family members to show them, you know what I'm saying, your light, you know, what you were created on this earth to do. And so congratulations with that. And I just want to say the main key that you said about being organized, because I tell you, for me, that was always something. When I started in the very beginning, my children were very small. I think my oldest was about 4, and my baby, my youngest son, was right at 2.
Ooh.
And I was like, you know, God said he wanted me to write, he wanted me to, you know, do all this stuff, and I was going to be international and an author. And I think at the time I was married at the time. I worked a full-time job, and I worked a part-time, like I was doing an internship, and I was going to school, and I had to write. And I was just like, okay, God, can you help me figure this out? You said this is what you want me to do. And I was writing a book at the time. Oh no, I think I was pregnant with my youngest son at the time. So I had a 2-year-old, and I was pregnant. But I was doing all this stuff, and in the midst of that, my ex-husband at the time was overseas, and I wanted to get it done. So what I had to do is what you said. I had to organize my life. I had to say, okay, I'm going to work here, we're eating here. When I come home, I'm going to fix the kids, I'm putting you to bed here, and I'm writing here. I'm going to work on this day. And even I found out when I made that schedule, because I'm a list calendar girl. When I made them, I gave myself like not so much as I put pressure on myself, that even if I had to move something to the next day. But what was important to me is that I got it out of my head, and I got it on paper, because the way my mind works, my mind would say, LaDonna, you have something to do. You have something to do. You have something to do. And I'm like, okay, well, what was that thing that I had to do? And, you know, if I didn't write it down. So being organized and structured was something that I had to make sure that I had in place to do, and to be able to do everything that God has, you know, equipped me and called me to do for all these years. And people always ask me, like, how, you know, even, you know, am I able to do this? Because I've traveled around the world. You know, it's like we talked about having a podcast. I brought that back. I do interviews and different things, and go and speak places. And I'm in ministry now. I'm taking, you know, classes for church. But I had to get my little whiteboard, and I wrote everything down. This is what Mondays look like. This is what Tuesdays look like. You know, these Wednesday, Thursdays are the days for the podcast interviews. Friday, quick check-in, you know what I'm saying? Or just chill out, you know, for that day going into the weekend. So you said, you know, something good. So listeners out there, if you're looking to embark on any dream, you know, anything that you desire to do, first you got to do is get organized and get you some structure, and pray for strategy.
Yes.
When you pray for strategy, God will lay it out the way that it needs to be done. Because I had to learn that I could not do things all the way in my own strength. And when I did them in my own strength, I got a little tired. So I learned how to lean into him, and he will work it all out. So Eboni, thank you for that, those pointers, and everybody that's listening. It is achievable, but you have to have some structure and balance in your life. Because even what you said about, you know, how you were doing your business, and then your children, I can remember a time, even when me and my children transitioned from Georgia to Mississippi, I took time off. I took at least like 6 months off of writing or doing interviews or anything, because I wanted them to transition from Georgia to Mississippi well. So I took time to be like, mommy, all hands on deck, making sure that they had questions, or I had to be there, or they needed some extra love, because the atmospheres were different. So I understand the importance of balance and mapping out your life the way that you need to.
And that's self-awareness. You talk about that's that self-awareness. You
come on now, because we got to know ourselves.
Yes.
We to know ourselves and what we can do and what we can't do, or what we need to take some time away from to be able to make it.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, we talked about your achievements, congratulations on the Huffington Post. Look, I'm getting tongue-tied. That's a tongue twister. Congratulations again. So now I want you to share with our listeners. We always talk about how we've overcome obstacles, because we are overcomers in life, even though we go through different things. Can you share with some of the listeners a time in your life when you had to overcome an obstacle?
Oh, so many. Where to begin with that one? I will just start, I think, with my most recent obstacle, which was that I felt like I had created a life that I felt trapped by.
Okay.
And then I felt guilty about feeling trapped by it, right? It wasn't that I wasn't grateful for it, because it was what I prayed for. It wasn't that I wasn't grateful, but it was something that so us women were the house managers, we the life managers, we manage the little people, we manage ourselves, we manage everything, and everything went through me. And so when I wanted to interject more wellness practices and health benefit things for myself, I couldn't find the time. Because I was, cooking every night, and, I did the homework, and then, you got to keep the house together.
Yes.
And it was, by the grace of God and therapy.
Okay, come on.
What? I'm telling you, it would not, I would be a whole different person in here had I not started regular therapy 5 years ago. But I had to go through a process of unlearning a lot of behaviors that I had learned, and I had to learn that, doing all of this stuff, I attached, I think, my worth and my appreciation.
Yes.
I attached that to doing things and doing stuff, and it wasn't healthy. It was the unsustainable thing for me, and I really had to be like, okay, this isn't what I want. And I had to get over the guilt of feeling like that, and realizing that it's not that I don't want to take care of them and that I don't love them, but if I'm empty and if I'm dragging and if I can't do anything. And I was like, it was becoming, I was just like no good, because I was no good. So I had to reframe, those same, and I'm like you, I'm a list girl, I'm a planner girl. I got 2 planners here. I got a whiteboard too. I use a project manager software for my life. Like I'm a planner too. And that's a gift and a curse.
It is.
It is a gift and a curse to be that organized.
It is. Trust me, I know.
I had to just learn how to reframe those behaviors, in a healthy way, and put the focus on me in a healthy way. Like, I'm not doing this to be selfish. I'm not just out, doing whatever I feel like doing. I am doing things that I need to do to refuel, recharge, and reset myself, so that I can be what I need to be for them.
Exactly.
And, and once I got that, it was just like everything was not perfect, of course, but it was a lot more peaceful. I had a lot more contentment in my life. I had a lot more joy. I had a lot more inspiration. And because I just felt uninspired to do anything. I just felt so stuck.
Yeah. I understand how you feel, because like you said, even with me with the list and everything, I said the same thing about, because I have reminders on my phone and things on my calendar, and those reminders will pop up, and I have different things to do. But even Ebony, for me as a single mom, where you talk about the guilt when you do some things for yourself, that had hit me hard, because for me, I was like, I would always tell my boys sometimes, we all we got, like me, you, and them. And so most of the time when I would do things, I did feel guilty in the beginning, but I had to quickly go pray and just ask God to help me, because I wanted to build a legacy. And so it took for, me to continue to do what I needed to do to build it. But in the beginning, I did feel, some type of way, if I had to be away or if I couldn't. So then as the kids got older, I started taking them with me. Like, they will go to book signings with me. They will go and help me. They know how to set up my table. They know how to pass out cards. They know how to introduce their mom as LaDonna Marie. And so, I made it fun for them. But I made it to where they didn't feel like my LaDonna Marie author life was second to that. But I did feel sometimes guilty. But like you said, we can't pour from an empty cup. Yeah. And so that's one of the things that I had to learn, even for me now, even if, I just recently did this, and this is something that I do whenever I go hard with my list and with things that I have to do. I would take a weekend to just watch some shows on Netflix, or to just, maybe read a book, or just silence myself, listen to some music, because I know if I'm sitting behind my computer, chances are I'm going to be doing something that probably wasn't on my list, but I just know needs to be done, because I'll sit here and I'll pick. Yeah. But I had to, even sometimes I will sit in the bed and not sit in my part of my office, because it then relieves me of having to, do something, or finish something, or start something, or reach out. And so we need those times to get ourselves back full, and even to love on ourselves. And it's not that we don't love our family and things like that, but we do have to be poured into. And I call it having a self-care moment. Even just to take some time to, like you said, rejuvenate yourself. And so thank you so much for sharing, your time that you have had to overcome, and the authenticity of being transparent with others, because that's often what I want the listeners, when they're calling in to listen, I want it to be as applicable to life as possible, because I don't want them feeling like, because what they see sometimes on social media, people always show them the good stuff. Yeah. But like you said, even for therapy, because I was a therapist, so I did therapy. I was a therapist for 5 years, so I even know, the importance of going to therapy, or having a therapist, or making sure you have somebody that you can, vent to and help you to structure your life, or help you to just unlock some stuff that you didn't even know was there. So different things that we have to do for ourselves. I'm always want to give the listeners some real time reality, and how we're winning. We're gonna win regardless, but it is how we are in the game. And so taking this time to know that even though you have an obstacle, that you can still overcome it, by checking in with yourself and making sure that you're okay before you begin to pour out and give more to other people.
Yes. And know that
I wanted to just
feel inadequate, and it's okay. You're going to feel like that. You're going to feel inadequate. You're going to feel like you're not failing, and not to let that derail your overall. Because I think too, I was doing that, like, because you get on a high. Oh, I'm doing good. And when soon as something doesn't go the way you expect it to go, everything that you've built is like you flush down the toilet, and it's like, no, I don't need to throw it all away. I had a bad day, I had a bad moment, whatever the case may be. I had to apologize to my son. It was like 2 days ago, because it was, the virtual learning, and I'm trying to do, working from home and everything, and I just had a moment, and it was just like I frequently apologize to him, and I believe in apologizing to our children, because we all did wrong many times. You know what I mean? And how are we going to teach them how to, like you said, be authentic and own when you mess up, and also live healthily, knowing that you're going to mess up. If they us modeling that,
Yeah.
So I, just apologize profusely, and he apologized, but it really, I think people, they don't treat kids as like they're little people, but they're people, you know what I mean? And so it's okay to mess up, but you just you realize it, that's self-awareness, and you move on. You make it right and you move on. I had a bad moment, but I guess the point I was making was that, just don't throw away all your progress.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times we throw away that progress because we feel like we made one error, one mistake, or we didn't, we weren't consistent one week or something like that. And it's like, it's going to happen. And in us perfectionist people, or who always want things to be perfect, can't accept that it's not perfect. And I always have to tell myself excellence over perfection. Like when I feel that coming on,
mm-hmm.
I tell myself, I write it down, because you just, it's going to happen. So, don't throw away your progress for a mistake or 2 or 5. It's okay.
Okay. Oh, you sound like me. That's something that I do in my day-to-day life, because I think I used to, kind of be like, oh, I hadn't, felt like you hadn't accomplished nothing if that one day had gone wrong. But then I started to look at everything and how far I had come and all that I had done. And so I would not let that one thing mess up, just being proud of myself for continuing or doing different things or starting things. And so, even as we talked before the broadcast, I was like, this is going to be, I think this is going to be episode 14. And so I'm so excited because, I started and now I'm finishing strong.
Yeah.
And so I'm so thankful that, we get a chance to, just keep celebrating life, small things, little things. And then when we do make a mistake, we just, keep moving, learn from it and keep moving. And I like the fact, I just want to piggyback off, you said how you apologize to your children, because I do that to my children. I always want them to know, like you said, sometimes we make mistakes, and I don't want them to feel like they can't make mistakes, and they won't, be able to be redeemed from those mistakes. And so if I make a mistake, I'm quick to apologize, because I know that I'm raising them and they're going to have children of their own, or they're going to be in different, relationships and things. And they have to be able to own, their mess ups and then just bounce back. I always talk about restoration and resiliency with LaDonna Marie books and Discover the Champion in You. And so I want them to learn those things for their relationship building with different people. And so it's always good to model those things. And so I love doing that as a parent. And I'm all the listeners out there, make sure that you're modeling what you want to see and not just saying what you want to be said, because children look at what you do more than what you say.
They do.
They look at what you do. Well, I am so excited about, tonight in the conversation. I wanted to get on just asking you about what are some of the fun things that you do. We talked about work and, other things. So what are some of the fun things that you do? How do you unwind?
Oh my goodness. So I love to bake. For me, like the perfect self-care weekend involves a day of baking and then a bath.
Awesome.
A couple hours of meditation in there. But yeah, so I do a lot of baking, but I give it all away. I already will let people know, like, okay, I'm baking, so you can come get this. Am I dropping it off? Because it cannot stay here. Because when I bake, it's not just a little thing. I'm baking like I have to bake 2-pound cakes at once. Don't ask me why, but I have to make two because I used to make them for things, and I realized I could cook them both at the same time. And now every time I have to make 2. So I'm making dozens of cookies because I can't just make chocolate chip. I gotta make chocolate chip and double chocolate chip and snickerdoodle.
Oh.
So I can't just and double chocolate. I have to do all the things. But I love it. I'm vibing in the kitchen. I got whatever, and I'm just cooking and the baking, and I love it. So that is. I also love to read. So yeah.
Okay. And that is good. And we need those things that make us smile and, that make us feel good and put us in a, in a good summer mood and like happy and excited. And so I know all of your friends and people that are near you, when you get to baking and you get to call them, I know they are happy. Because I would love to eat some of those cookies.
I always tell people, if I bake or cook for you, like, cause I make homemade pasta, I make homemade ravioli. I said, if I've ever cooked for you, I really love you, because cooking, and like, it's a love language for me.
It is.
So if I do it because I care about you.
Oh, that is so awesome. Well, that is so nice. And we all, like I said, we always need something to do so that you could find that little special moment that you could, have fun for yourself. And just like it's me time for you, cleansing up your mind, have, positive vibes, so that's really, really good. I have thoroughly enjoyed our conversation, and I wanted to just ask you if you had any final thoughts for the listeners on Inspirational Talks with LaDonna Marie. If you had any final thoughts.
I would say, for a final thought, if I had to say one thing, it would be, well, I guess it would be two things. The first thing would be acceptance. I have had so many therapy conversations in acceptance, because it would seem like all of my issues would wrap around the fact that I couldn't accept something, because I tend to be a bit of a control freak.
Okay.
And so what I would say is, we can only control ourselves.
Exactly.
And even in that, it's hard, right? It's hard to control yourself. It's hard to control what you're thinking and what you're feeling. And it's hard to unlearn things. But I will say that has been one of the most beneficial lessons and behavior that I've ever done, was learning to not, just to accept that I can't do, a lot of things, and I can't really impact a lot of things in people, and just know that it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
My therapist always say, what is. And I really just had to understand that, like, it just is. So what are you going to do? You know what I mean? And it's about responding versus reacting. And I used to be very emotional. I would just always react with my emotions. And you knew if I was mad, you was going to know it. You was going to feel it, because it had to come up off of me, and I didn't care how it made you feel, so I would just say, just acceptance. It is such, it's a peaceful existence. It is a peaceful existence. And to get your rest. Your rest. There is no glory in being that super person that's so worn down.
Come on now.
That your brain, you can't even accept, because you're so tired. You cannot even have the energy to do these things that you need to do, that we've been talking about. If you're tired, get your rest.
You're so right. So I listeners, you have to accept and get your rest. And those are two, big things that you can do, for your life. And sometimes it may be hard, but start each day, embracing who you are, and embracing the things that happen in your life, so that you can be able to move to the next moment and not stay stuck in a moment. You said something, Eboni, that was really key. I always talk about unlearning behavior, and that's the, saying the therapist in me, because I had written a book when God had gave me like this first workbook, and it was something that he was doing in me, because I used to only say that I was just a poet. And then he started to prove me wrong. So he started bringing devotionals out of me and children's books out of me. And then I did a workbook called Rebuilding Fragments. And that book was a book that helped people to unlearn things that helped them, that they had been built on, and things that, weren't really good for them and didn't serve them. But because they lived it and it was all that was around them, they had learned, it was a learned behavior. And so, everyone out there, pay attention to, who you are and what you pick up from your surroundings, because, you could just be, doing something that for your life isn't a good fit. And so unlearning behaviors and putting positive ones in place of it is always a good look. Well, Eboni, I am so thankful for you coming on to the broadcast on Inspirational Talks. I know that the listeners have enjoyed, on tonight, with just your love of impacting lives through dialysis and kidney help, and helping families learn more about themselves, the legacy that you're building, putting out different things in Black enterprise and, and writing to help people. You talk about teaching a class. I know that everyone that's going to be in that class is going to learn, things that will help them throughout life. And so you have just blessed our broadcast on tonight, and also with your positive mindset and sharing just authentic, look at the words, your authentic moments of your journey, of how you've gone through some of these things. And so I just want to thank you again for coming on Inspirational Talks.
No problem. Thank you for having me. It was great to meet you, and I look forward to sharing all of your books and amazing things that you are doing in the future.
Thank you so much. All right, guests. So this is LaDonna Marie on Inspirational Talks here. We've had Eboni on tonight. She's been our special guest. Be sure to come back to the broadcast on Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern and share with a friend. And so until we meet again, stay positive and know that you are amazing. Thank you and have a great night. This has been another purpose-packed episode of Inspirational Talks with LaDonna Marie, a Planting Positive Seeds podcast. Please remember to like, share, and tell your friends about the podcast. Stay tuned for many more Inspirational Talks with LaDonna Marie.